Listen to me for a moment, because this story is not really about a bus seat, it is about the kind of person you become when you are exhausted. The moment when your body is begging for comfort but your heart is tested, and it happens in the most ordinary place in the world, inside a crowded city bus on a normal evening when nobody expects anything special to happen. The bus arrived with a long, tired sound like it had already carried 1,000 people and 1,000 problems today. The sky was turning orange and gray, and the air felt heavy like the whole city was breathing slowly after a long day, and at the bus stop, tired faces stood in a line. Some people scrolled their phones like they were escaping life. Some stared ahead with empty eyes, and some held shopping bags so tightly their hands looked painful. Among them stood Sana, a woman in her late 20s wearing simple clothes with her hair tied back, her face calm but her heart tired in a way words cannot explain, because she had finished her shift an hour ago but stayed longer to earn extra money. And in her life, a few more minutes meant a few more rupees, and a few more rupees meant the house could survive another day. So she stepped onto the bus with the crowd, and the warm air inside smelled like dust, sweat, and old seats. People pushed in, and Sana held the metal bar above her head as her feet hurt and her legs felt weak, because she had been standing all day in a small clothing shop folding clothes, smiling at customers, fixing shelves, and standing again, smile, stand, fold, repeat, and now she was not dreaming of success. She was dreaming of one small thing, a seat. She looked around, searching through the crowd, and then she saw it, an empty seat, not near the window, and not near the front, but empty, and it felt like a small gift from life. So she moved toward it carefully and sat down, and the moment she sat, her legs relaxed like they had been waiting for this all day. She leaned back and closed her eyes for 1 second and felt relief. But when she opened her eyes again, she saw something that pulled her back into reality. An older woman had entered the bus. She looked around 65, maybe older, her back slightly bent and her movements slow and careful like her knees did not fully trust her anymore. The bus jerked forward and she almost lost balance, grabbing a pole quickly with thin, shaking hands, and her face was full of lines from age and stress. But her eyes were the hardest part because they looked tired. From life, not just from today. Sana watched her as people around the older woman did not move. Nobody offered a seat. Nobody even looked up properly. Everyone was tired and trapped inside their own exhaustion. And Sana sat there looking at the woman's weak knees as a small, heavy feeling entered her chest. Guilt, and she tried to ignore it by telling herself someone else would stand up. There were men sitting and young people sitting, and surely someone would do the right thing. And Sana deserved rest too, because she had worked hard and she was exhausted, but guilt doesn't stay quiet. Because every time the bus moved, the older woman swayed, and every bump made her shake like she could fall. Her lips pressed together like she was trying not to show pain, and she didn't ask anyone or complain. She just stood there silently like she had accepted that people do not notice older bodies anymore. And suddenly Sana thought of her mother standing in long lines, her mother carrying heavy bags, her mother smiling even when she was tired, and that memory hit Sana's heart like a soft punch. So she looked around again and saw that no one moved, and in that moment she understood something. Tiredness can make people forget kindness. Not because they are evil, but because they are empty. And Sana stood up, turned to the older woman, and spoke gently, "Auntie, please sit here." And the older woman looked up as if she didn't believe her ears. Her eyes widened, and for a moment she just stared. Then she whispered, "Beta, are you sure?" And Sana nodded, "Yes, please." And the older woman stepped closer slowly and sat down with a deep breath, the kind that comes when your body finally feels safe. Her shoulders relaxed, her hands rested on her lap, and it looked like it wasn't just a seat, it was dignity. Sana stood beside her holding the pole again. Her legs started hurting again, but her heart felt lighter and calmer, like she had done something right. And the bus moved through the city with lights passing outside like glowing dots as the older woman looked up at Sana and whispered, "May Allah bless you." And Sana smiled softly and said, "It's okay, Auntie." After a moment, the older woman spoke again, as if kindness had opened her heart. She said her legs were not strong anymore, and she had walked from far today. She came to visit her daughter who was sick, and Sana listened quietly as the woman's voice became heavy. She said they were at the hospital all day and waited for hours, and the tests were expensive and they did not even eat properly. And Sana felt something sting behind her eyes because she knew this pain, the pain of sacrifice and the pain of loving someone when life is hard. And the older woman sighed and said, even when children grow up, they are still our children, and Sana whispered, "You remind me of my mother." And the older woman looked at her and replied softly, "And you remind me of my daughter." And those words stayed inside Sana because she hadn't felt seen in a long time. She was always working and carrying responsibility and being strong, and sometimes strong people feel invisible too. After some time the bus slowed and it was the older woman's stop. She tried to stand, moving slowly. Sana stepped closer and supported her arm. And the older woman held Sana with trust as they reached the door, and before stepping off, the older woman stopped and looked at Sana with moist eyes and said, "You don't know what you did today." And Sana whispered, "It was just a seat." But the older woman shook her head and said, "No, Beta, it was respect. It was mercy, it was something rare." And then she said the sentence Sana would never forget. "When you gave me that seat, I felt like someone still sees me." And then she stepped off the bus and disappeared into the crowd, while Sana stood there holding the pole, feeling her tired legs and her heavy day. But inside she felt awake because she realized something simple and powerful. The world does not always need big heroes. Sometimes the world only needs one tired person who chooses kindness anyway. And sometimes kindness is as small as giving the last seat on the bus.